Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our second quarter 59-minute meeting. My name is Cameron Kinzer. I'm the Director of Government Affairs here at the Boise Regional Realtors, and today we're joined by Richard Beck, who is the Director of the Ada County Development Services, and Mark Perfect, who is the Planning and Zoning Administrator. So our guests are going to walk through impact fees, the zoning code rewrite, and other issues at Ada County that are affecting development. We'll have about 15 to 20 minutes at the end for Q&A. So as you have questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat or into the Q&A box, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. But for now, I'll turn over to our guests, and I'd like to welcome Mark and Richard, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Cameron. Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. Again, my name is Richard Beck. I'm the Director of Ada County Development Services. I was appointed about a year ago with the departure of Meg Leatherman. Some of you may have known Meg. I've been with the county almost 15 years now. Before that, had the opportunity to work as a private consultant, land use consultant in the private sector, as well as work as a city planner at Boise City. Got Mark Perfect is the Ada County Planning and Zoning Administrator. And I think you've been here over 23?
Yes, a little over 23 years.
23 years. So in addition to all the other things Mark does, he is also our project manager on the zoning code rewrite that the county's going through. So we'll be able to hear a little bit about that in our discussion later today. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing our presentations. Okay, and hopefully everyone can see this presentation. So yeah, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to present today. I know that some of these meetings were held in person in the past. That would be great. I appreciate patience as we try to leverage this technology. I'm going to be trying to share some web pages, and I hope that works later on. But just in the way of our time together this morning, I just want to quickly update you on the structure of the development services, highlight some of the resources that are either available or in the works that may be valuable to you or clients. Provide an update on our coordinated growth efforts. We're going to have Mark walk you through the current status of the zoning code rewrite. I'll just wrap up, if we have time, with just some of our thoughts on growth and housing pressures that we're seeing on our end. And so I feel like I can learn so much from you all, but I hope that there is something that we might be able to offer that you can find useful today. So we'll jump into it. Starting with the development services as an organization, our mission is to help guide growth on behalf of Ada County residents and leaders through every development and building activity. Our vision is balancing growth for a sustainable community while maintaining the trust of those we serve. And essentially, our business, our goals, actions, projects, everything that we stand for are governed by our core values. We strive to collaborate, to build trust, to lead by example, and to be fiscally responsible, and definitely recognize the impact that growth and development have on our community. Want to work to find a way to balance essentially that accommodates both current and future needs. So development services is currently organized into 5 divisions. We did end up letting go of our strategic planning division that we used to have. For the most part, all the responsibilities were absorbed by our community planning division. Currently have 32 employees in development services for the county. We do have 1 vacant position, which was formerly held by Jason Bull. Many of you may have known Jason, who's taken a position with a law firm in Salt Lake City, the planner. So we're missing Jason and the incredible talents that he had. But we are, this upcoming fiscal year, which would start in October, we're going to be requesting 2 new positions, one of which is another licensed land surveyor, somebody who can help out with processing our final plats. So concerning, I guess, county jurisdiction, I wanted to at least bring this up. Apologize for those who are familiar with these intricacies, but I wanted to at least mention we process all planning, building, engineering, preliminary plat applications in the white areas depicted on the map on the screen, essentially everything outside of the cities. And then we also are responsible for the light colored areas in close to the cities. These are the city area of impacts. And in the white areas, the county's comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance are applicable, while in the impact areas, those light shaded areas, a version of the city's comprehensive plan is adopted by the county will be applicable, as well as the county's zoning ordinance. And on occasion, there's also some special zoning regulations that are maybe applicable in the impact area as well. And the primary exception to all of that are final plats. We do process all final subdivision plats before they're recorded, regardless of where the preliminary plat was approved, whether under a city's jurisdiction or the county's. So I want to expand on an area that where we do see some confusion, and that's with comprehensive plans. Sometimes the city and the county are literally applying different versions of the city's comprehensive plans. I think an example would be the city of Eagle right now. So a property in the city limits of Eagle would be subject to the city's like 2017 or their current comprehensive plan. But if you moved into the city of Eagle's area of impacts, the applicable comprehensive plan that we have adopted and agreed to enforce is the 2004 comprehensive plan. So I always feel for the public, for folks trying to get a feel for who has jurisdiction, which ordinances, which plans are applicable. So I wanted to take a moment today, or just some time with you today, to highlight a resource that I think can help point people in the right direction, and highlight a couple more resources that may prove useful. So I want to bring up I want to start out with this application that's on our website, and some of you are probably familiar with it already. It's essentially a city limit and zoning lookup map. So this is just an image. I want to go ahead and show this to you. If I can figure out how to switch to the internet. Okay, so hopefully you are or will surely see our website. It's the Development Services homepage. And on the homepage, under our quick links section, there's a link to this particular map I want to show you, which is called City Limit Zoning Lookup Map. And this opens up a Geographic Information System, or GIS map, that is tailored towards see if I can make this a little more visible. Go ahead and turn that off. So it's tailored to, it's simplified essentially to allow someone to type in an address. So if somebody had a prospective client at 850 Rolling Hills, they could type in this address and it will automatically return what some specified results. It identifies if the property is within a city limit. It will identify which one, or if it's not, it identifies the zoning and some other service providers. But one that's of interest is whether it's in an impact area. So that can also provide a clue as to which comprehensive plan would be applicable. This is something that definitely want to make sure you and clients are aware of, that exists a resource there. There are some some other useful information that's pulled directly from our GIS information retained by the county. So the zoning designation here, I will note, at least for Ada County, is exactly what our permitting folks would see up front. If you called them and asked to verify zoning. This is exactly what they would get. It does display city zoning. That is pulled from our assessor's office. There is potential there that the city may have recently adopted newer zoning designations, but typically these other service providers will remain true. So if somebody's interested in whether there's a neighborhood association or what fire district they're in, there's some useful information there. And then also, I'm going to go ahead and hit the back button here. The next thing I wanted to point out is if you were interested in checking out which comprehensive plan the county was looking at, we do have a page under our community planning division for our comprehensive plans. I wanted to point this out real quick. And each time that the city negotiates with us to update or adopt a new version of their comprehensive plan, we post those on this page. So we have PDF copies of the plans that we are going to use as we evaluate property that's outside of city limits. So if a client's interested, rather than taking a look at the city's website, we will have these available here for reference. I wanted to make sure people are aware that this resource is available. It's something that we didn't used to have, but it's been valuable for staff even. I find myself going here versus trying to dig through our own files to pull up the applicable plans. This is also where you can find the county's comprehensive plan as well. Okay, and I think there's a couple more things I wanted to share. Oh, the next one is also a web page. And this one, this is the one I guess most excited to share with you. It's something, it's an update to an application that we've had for a while, that we developed during COVID, when even now, I guess it's probably fairly difficult to call up our committee folks. They're some of the most busy people that we have, and it's difficult to get through on the phone. So we've updated our application tracker system. And so in this case, again, on our starting homepage under quick links, we have a link to application tracker. And I want to just show this to you because I guess I feel kind of proud of it, but I feel like it's a useful tool. This again is another GIS an application. And this one is a little bit more robust, but I think I just want to walk you through potentially an example. If somebody had a client that was interested in a particular property, I guess I back up before I jump into that. This again will be useful for those properties that are either within the county or near county property. It's going to be able to display current and past applications that we're processing. So again, if we had a client who was interested in 1097 Whitetail in Cuna, and they were curious what the activity was around that property, this application will pull up that property and bring up and highlight applications that we've received, either current or past. And it will list those by type on the left. In this case, we have 3 building permits within a 1 mile radius and 16 planning and zoning applications. If you click on these, it groups them by what's closest. You can also, I guess, ignore this and you can zoom into the site and see what's nearby. In this case, there's a record just to the south of the property of interest. And so you can actually click on that record and it will pull up all the zoning files that pertain to that property. In this case, there's 5 zoning files just on that particular property. And so I think this is useful to kind of get a potential feel for some of the development activity that may be going on in the area. In this case, there is a cell tower that was approved back in 2018. And this pop-up window will give some information about that. But it's also possible if somebody was really interested in finding more information about that cell tower to pull up, you can come up back over to this menu. You can literally click on that record, pull up more information. You can see when the application was received, who the staff member is, their phone number, their contact information. You can actually reach out to that staff member. If you can't get a hold of that staff member, it's also possible to click on this blue button. I wish this was a little bit clearer for folks, but this button you can click on and you can bring up actual documents that were considered by either the Planning and Zoning Commission or staff as they went through this. In this case, it's possible to click up and pull up a letter, and you can read through what was proposed. In this case, handwritten request for a temporary use permit. I guess I didn't pull up the cell tower after all. But you can pull up records. We're trying to make more and more things available directly to the public in this form, in this fashion, so they don't have to go through a public records request or go through a staff member to pull up these documents. So definitely something we're excited about. I'm hoping that folks are able to leverage this and pull up documents, get a feel for development that's going on in the vicinity of projects. I'm trying to think what else I could show on this. I did minimize at the beginning this list. I'm going to open it back up. It's going to kind of take over the screen here. Oh, not too bad. There is more GIS information here that is available. That pulls from our system. One thing that you can do is if you don't have the address, you can simply just zoom in, turn on the parcels layer. You can literally just zoom into an area that you're interested in, and again, you can click on all these records to pull up information. But again, you can see on the right there are quite a few layers that are available. So again, a potential additional resource for folks to go through for information. So I wish I could explain that better. That's kind of at least the basics that I wanted to make sure people were aware of. It's also possible that someone may approach you with a file number. So it's also possible to type in a permit number into this box. I wish I knew one offhand. I can try one here. So yeah, if you type in a permit number, it will auto-populate typically file numbers. If somebody gets a notice in the mail, this is typically where they'll come. So there's also that feature as well. And there's probably others that I'm missing. I'm quite sure this is also available on cell phones. So we're excited for this feature. And feel free to post any questions in the chat that come to mind for this. And then I think that wraps up what I have for that portion. I'm going to jump back to my PowerPoint. I think I can do it this way. Okay. Catch back up here. All right. The last resource that's in development, it's not available widespread at this point, is work that we're doing to develop an online portal. This will be an area where clients can create an account, they can log in and submit applications. We want to be able to have them submit building permits, subdivision plats, planning and zoning applications. Essentially, anything that they email to us now, which is how we're receiving most of our applications, they would go to this site and they'd be able to submit those. We'll be able to pass documents back and forth. They can submit inspection requests. They can make payments. Something that we're excited about is to be able to take payments over this portal. Right now, again, it's in development. We're working with our IT department. They are busy folks, but we're working with them to try to wrap this application up. We are currently using it with some of the mechanical contractors out in the field. They are submitting their mechanical applications through this portal. So we're excited for this. We've had some preliminary testing with some of the building contractors out there who are also, we've got some positive feedback, but definitely some work to do before this is ready and available for folks. So we're excited for that. It'll be a place where if you have an account, you can log in and you can see all the applications that are going to be associated with your, essentially, I think your email address is how it's going to work. But your user ID, you'll be able to pull up all your past applications, and be able to access those documents and those approvals going forward. So super exciting. Definitely been a long time in coming, and we're looking forward to hopefully the convenience and the progress that brings to us. So I'm going to jump ahead. That kind of wraps up the resources. I'm going to kind of switch topics here, and I'm hoping I'm not going over time. Except we're doing okay so far. So I wanted to switch to coordinated growth, give you all an update. As you know, the effort was started by our previous Board of County Commissioners, spearheaded by Commissioner Diana Lachando, our strategic planning manager at the time, Mitra Meta-Cooper. And really, an effort to bring jurisdictions together in the Valley to recognize and just take unified action on how to address growth in a fiscally responsible way that can help preserve the incredible quality of life that we enjoy. So as far as an update, when Mitra Meta-Cooper left to take a position in Elmore County, and then with COVID for sure, kind of pausing everything, the county commissioners followed up with development services and asked us to kind of give them some feedback on the best way to continue forward. And so we kind of put our feelers out and tried to get our own feedback from our counterparts in the other planning jurisdictions. Unfortunately, the approach, I think that obviously the topic is of vital importance, but the approach that was taken was not very well received. We got essentially some negative feedback on how it was progressing. So we proposed to the commissioners that we adjust the approach that we were taking. And I want to describe kind of how we've adjusted this coordinated growth effort. Before I do, I just want to highlight at least this initial push. I want to highlight some of what I'd say are accomplishments. Obviously, there were numerous, it's kind of blocked here, but there were quite a few town hall meetings that were held. Some of you may have participated in a meeting about the coordinated growth effort. And it really did get the conversation going. People started to think about connecting growth and how we could fiscally respond in a way that was beneficial. The cities, we started seeing cities start to consider it more on how growth may be affecting their municipalities. We saw some applications get denied, some applications get paused. We've seen cities pause recently, just out of necessity to address growth. Another success, I guess, if you will, positive to come out of the initial effort here was the development of a fiscal impact analysis tool by Compass. This is something that I think is essentially ready to go at this point, and local jurisdictions, if they'd like on complex projects, potentially simple projects, I think for us maybe a new comprehensive plan request, we could ask Compass to kind of take a look at the proposal from a fiscal standpoint and how it could impact services and planning. And also the City of Eagle we understand, is also developing their own fiscal impact analysis tool. So that'll be something that the City of Eagle will leverage on their own, and it'd be interesting to see if other jurisdictions follow suit. And finally, we are seeing more conversation between jurisdictions, between planning professionals. I know we started holding quarterly meetings as professionals to kind of just get together with no specific agenda, but talk about the commonalities that we're seeing and pressures that we're seeing with the work that we do. So do see that there was some great value in this initial effort, and we hope that we can capitalize on that value. And as far as how we are how we're pivoting, how we're kind of adjusting in the future, we decided rather than try and enforce a change, we would pivot to try to lead change by taking some steps and making internal improvements within the county as an entity that we could potentially use as examples for other jurisdictions to follow. So the first such effort is the Ada County Transportation Action Plan. Here in our valley, it's tempting for local jurisdictions to just let ACHD and Compass and ITD worry about transportation planning. I mean, if you think about it, really that is their purview. They have the authorization and the authority to do that planning. But this separation, separating transportation and land use planning is something that we recognize could be one of the potential failures. Has put so much kind of strain on our transportation system. We've really had a scenario where jurisdictions have been able to approve urban development without having to consider to some extent how it affects the transportation system. Really, these transportation agencies have got to just kind of accept to some degree, not fully, but accept development as it's come from the cities, and there's been kind of a disconnect. So we are preparing this Ada County Transportation Action Plan to help us as an agency establish a vision for integrating land use and transportation planning in Ada County. It'll help guide us as we look at development and project programming decisions, with the ultimate goal of helping, again, maintaining that quality of life and wrapping in those transportation needs. And then next, I did want to provide an update, as Cameron had mentioned. An area that we are focusing on is just the strain that new development is placing on the delivery of county services, and that potential to really pass on costs to maintain that level of service to existing taxpayers and residents. So we're working with the Sheriff's Office, EMS, and the coroner on investigating the feasibility of adopting development impact fees to help growth pay for the impacts it has on service levels. And we hired a consultant who has conducted an analysis for these technically four areas that you can see on the screen, the sheriff's, jail, paramedics, coroner. She has worked with these agencies. She's identified a draft service level. Based on that, you can see, again, I want to emphasize that these are draft costs that potentially could be leveraged to address those impacts of service levels. We have formed a citizens advisory committee, and they have taken a look at these things. We're going to be getting ready to make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on considering moving forward with this concept. If they do give us the authorization, we'll then start the process of reaching out to the individual cities to get them on board, because it'll be key to have the cities be able to collect these fees, with the exception of the sheriff's fees, within the city limits.
Hey, Richard.
Yes.
Sorry, are we supposed to be able to see something, because we're still on the application tracking system for the view?
Okay, I appreciate you. I appreciate you speaking up.
Sorry about that.
No, I switched. Can you see anything different now?
Yes, we're on the development impact fees, and then Ada County proposed impact fees.
Okay, this is where we should be. I apologize for that, everybody. Trying to think if, hopefully, I don't think as far as like the graphics that much was missed. This one, obviously, there's going to be some interest. So yes, we have some draft fees on the screen that have come out of the studies. As you can see, there's 4 different categories. The sheriff, the very top one, would only be in unincorporated areas, as the individual cities already provide for law enforcement. But the jail, paramedics, and coroners would be county-wide. So again, it'd be important for those 3 items for the cities to agree to collect impact fees as they issue building permits. So again, these are draft amounts. In theory, within city limits, it would add about $1,000. Outside city limits, about $1,600 in impact fees. Again, draft, working with commissioners to get authorization to move forward. And again, we hope we start to reach out to the cities that this may, if we move forward, this may also inspire them to kind of consider other ways that we can address impacts. Obviously, this may not address all impacts, but it certainly could be of assistance. All right, sorry about that. I want to jump now. Hopefully, I want to jump over to Mark. I'm going to reshare. We're going to turn the timer to Mark to give us an update on the zoning ordinance. All right, so hopefully our screen changed. All right, Mark.
Thank you, Richard.
Yep.
Again, thank you, Cameron. Thank you, everybody, for allowing us to be here today. Again, I'm Mark Perfect. I'm the P&Z Administrator for Ada County. I'm excited today to bring you the project that we are currently working on. So we are doing a comprehensive zoning ordinance amendment update. This is unique. The county has not done one since the year 2000. So this is a big project. We've done several smaller updates to the ordinance, but nothing at this level or scale, again, since 2000. So basically, we have hired a couple consultants, White and Smith LLC out of Kansas City. They are experts in zoning ordinance rewrites. They've done over 130 of them across the country. They have done some work in Idaho. We've also hired Logan and Simpson, and they have done quite a bit of work here locally, including work with Star and Meridian. So those are our 2 main consultants we have on this project. So we started about a year ago, March 2020. We've primarily been doing outreach at this time, and we have moved forward into the drafting. But what we've heard so far, we have another citizens advisory committee that we did form for this project as well. And so we've done quite a bit of outreach. We've done outreach in our department, with the commissioners, with the P&Z Commission, all the cities, a lot of different state and local agencies, including ACHD, ITD, the fire districts, a lot of the service providers, including Idaho Power, a lot of the neighborhood associations that we have registered with us. And we've also done a lot of general public outreach, primarily, again, because of COVID, most all this has been virtual. And so a lot of it has been done with our WebEx, similar to what we're doing today, and then on our websites. So again, we are currently starting to do the drafting of the ordinance, but this is a lot of the folks who we've talked to so far this year. Again, we have a citizens advisory committee. It is a unique group of folks. There's currently 9 folks on it. They come from different backgrounds in different areas of the county. And so they provide us a very good perspective on kind of a sounding board for the entire county. So some of the things they are concerned with are many things you've heard before already in the press or paper. So one of the big ones is the rural and farmland preservation. Some of the other things they've looked at that they're concerned with is code terminology to align with the other jurisdictions, so primarily the cities. Trying to get the codes aligned the best we can with alike uses, standards, and so on. So, and then one of the third big thing that they have concerns with is trying to address the housing supply and affordability in more of a rural context, not with like the cities in particular, maybe Boise or Meridian doing. So what this would typically mean would be looking at things within the county code that would help this. So a lot of that would be with secondary dwellings and other type of secondary housing that would help address as much as possible the supply and the affordability. We did some extensive listening sessions starting last January of this year. And we did listening sessions specifically with many of the stakeholders that you saw on the prior screen. And in doing so, we did have a lot of stuff come out of that as well in regards to the code rewrite. So we had some issues with private and public roads that we're working on. Overall, one of the big things we're doing on the code is to streamline the process, provide more graphics and tables. If you are familiar with the county code, it can be pretty long and it's somewhat hard to find a lot of information, detailed information that you may need. So in part of the process that our consultants will be doing is more graphics, more tables, and streamlining the process as much as possible. So some of the other things that came out of the listening sessions that we've had, again, farmland preservation, infrastructure, try to formalize traffic studies on the bigger projects we have. Again, consistency with the cities, the transparency and open communication during the review process. So when applications come in, everything is open and the communication lines amongst the applicants, the public, and the neighbors is all done open and transparency. Telecommunication regulations has come up as well. We did in 2019, we did do a smaller zoning ordinance update, and it did include a lot of telecommunication regulations, including the small cell facilities that you've also probably heard about. We don't get as many of the small cell facilities that the city of Boise or Meridian do. We have done a few of those. Mostly what we have done in the past and will probably continue to do are the bigger towers. And so we are looking at some perhaps regulations or standards that maybe can help offset and mitigate some of the impacts of these towers. And then wildland urban interface, so the WIFI, if you would, obviously going into the summer and this week, as hot as it's getting, is a big concern about wildland fires. So we're looking at that and updating that particular section of the code as well. And then the last one that came up in one of the last listening sessions we had was water quality and water quantity throughout the Ada County and throughout the Treasure Valley. And so we're also, we heard a lot of different views and opinions and perspectives from a lot of our agencies, including DEQ and Idaho Department of Water Resources on this matter. So we're taking a lot of this information in and using it to help build our new zoning ordinance. What are our next steps? Where are we going? So we will continue doing listening sessions. Again, we did quite a few of them from January to basically end of April. We will continue to do outreach with our Citizens Advisory Committee. And again, the main thing we're doing right now is our consultants are drafting the first module of the ordinance. The module has, the ordinance has 3 modules, and they again are doing the first one. We will have open houses once all the modules and drafting has been completed. And we hope to have all of the drafts done by the end of this year. We've given that direction to our consultants, and so it looks like that will happen. So we hope to have all the drafts done by the end of the year. And then the beginning of next year, 2022, we would actually go to adopt the ordinance. And again, that would go through the Planning and Zoning Commission for a recommendation, and then ultimately to the Board of County Commissioners for their final decision. So the entire, as far as the schedule, again, doing the drafting now, hope to have the drafts done by the end of the year, and then do the adoption starting next year, and wrap up the entire project in either August or September of 2022. So, I think when Richard was showing you some of the other information, he did show you there is a link to this actual project. You can go to, there is helpful information there. There's timelines, there's WebEx recordings of many of the listening sessions we've done, the citizen advisory sessions we've done. And so there's a lot of information there. Obviously, if you have any questions, comments, on the screen, you'll see my name, title, my phone number, and the email address. So at any time that you have anything, please don't hesitate to contact me, and be happy to answer any questions you might have. So I'll go ahead and turn this back over to Richard now.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, and I am share this screen one more time. I'm gonna wrap up. I just wanted to try and just share some quick thoughts on growth and housing pressures. I guess I don't have anything super exciting or earth shattering. I hope that you're seeing what I'm seeing. We should be seeing a bar graph. And Cameron, if you're not, if you can let me know.
Yeah, well, we're seeing Ada County Development Services building permit volume bar graph.
Perfect. Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, just real quick, just wanted to share kind of what we're seeing for I guess the impacts of growth. This graph just shows total building permits issued for single family dwellings per fiscal year. It's interesting to see that we're projecting this fiscal year to finish out, and that'd be by September 30th, with as many or more permits issued for single family dwellings than in 2005 and 6. Those were some of our busiest times. I find this interesting. Again, this is a projection, but I find this interesting because we are still directing the majority of growth towards the cities. With Boise City not extending sewer into the southwest, we're kind of constrained as far as where we can issue building permits. We have a few planned communities, and then it's pretty much unincorporated areas. So it's been fascinating to see the incredible demand really shows up in that number because of the diminished, I guess, area that we have to work with as a jurisdiction. I can only imagine what the cities look like. So building permits, single family dwellings, much higher this fiscal year. Moving to planning and zoning applications. You can see they're also increasing. We're projecting them to exceed 2007 levels. They're not quite to 2005 and 6, which were crazy years, but we're definitely seeing the pressure. This is our busiest, on track to be our busiest year since 2007. So quite a surge in our planning and zoning applications. Jump here to plats. Unlike the previous graphs, this one doesn't attempt to project. It reports what we had at the end of May. And it's interesting, today's the 22nd, and I was talking to our surveyors, and we've received, in the month of June, we've received 21 plats. So I wish I could have updated this in time, but there's 21 more plats to add to that bar, and I don't know how many lots, but the trend that interests me is although the total number of plat submissions isn't coming close to 2005 or 6, What we are seeing is an increase in the number of total lots within each plat. You can see in 2007, there were over 200 plats submitted, but we are already exceeding the number of lots with just over 150 plats. So seeing more lots, developers are definitely trying to accommodate the demand by adding more lots and feeling more comfortable doing so. And then looking at our overall volume, again, everything's pushing back up towards those really high levels. And I keep getting the question I get is, when's the market going to correct? When's the bubble going to pop? I always I love this graphic. Saw it a couple of years ago, I think, and Boise Regional Realtors was kind enough to update it. But definitely there's some differences. But the one thing that I find intriguing that I'd love to get data on, that I'd like to just bring up real quick, is the influence COVID has had on actually our employment market. What got me thinking about this was my cousin. A couple of years ago, he left what I thought was his dream job at Google and got his dream job at Amazon in Seattle. And with COVID, obviously we proved to the world that it's possible to successfully work from home. So Amazon approached my cousin and said, hey, you can work from anywhere you want. And so he decided, all right, I'm going to go move. He moved somewhere in Utah, built his dream home, has the same salary as if he was in Seattle. And so that's what I find intriguing. Here in the Valley, we have a lot of people who say it's got to come back down. Our wages aren't up there. But it makes me pause and wonder just how many, my cousin's name Michael, how many Michaels are here in our Valley now, but still working outside of the state, and are pushing up that cost there. So I'm hopeful that we won't see a rapid reversal. I know there's lots of other, definitely no expert, lots of other factors that can come into play that can affect that, but definitely interesting market times. It does put that emphasis on the work that Mark's doing. With our zoning code, we had probably what could be considered a low-income housing almost crisis before COVID, and now we've kind of added to that group of folks that have been here for a while that are going to find it very difficult to find a home that's affordable for them. So definitely, hopefully something that's playing out in all the jurisdictions where folks are really seriously considering what can be done to bring on some other, I don't know if it's a product aspect, some other approval that can help kind of bridge that gap between this $500,000 and the other people who can't quite afford that. So with that, again, I'll throw this up here too, as Mark did at the end of his presentation. That wraps up, I can't remember what we had prepared for everyone today. Feel free to check out our social media. We have an incredible individual who keeps that up to date, keeps people informed on what's going on, especially some of these efforts that we're doing. So I encourage people to check those out, and we appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We'll just jump right into Q&A. We've got about 10 minutes left. So I'll start with the first one. Is 32 employees standard for a size of Ada County, or do you guys see more positions opening up with growth? Is there a chance to automate some of the processes with new technology, as Boise and this area continues to be one of the fastest growing areas in the nation?
Yeah, no, excellent question. Kind of starting with the latter, that the automation is something that we've been trying to work in for years. As I mentioned, that online portal, that'll, I think, make a huge difference in some of the staffing demand that we see. Right now, our permitting division they're just, it's like nonstop. Right now, because we don't have this portal, we're receiving emails, and it's just a really manual process. So we're definitely looking at automation to help out. What's been interesting is, and I didn't have a graphic for you, but those 2005 and 6 busy years, we had up to 60 employees. And when we had to lay off everybody but like 19 people in 2009, we've taken a conservative approach adding people back. So I'd say, the answer to the question is probably not. We probably should have more. We've just taken a conservative approach. I've been impressed with how much you saw the volumes. We're kind of getting back up to where we were, just how much staff is able to do with fewer people. So hopefully that gets close to answering that question.
Yes, thank you. Next question. What legal constraints are due to neighborhood associations? Do they have any standing or just a voice?
Yeah, I don't know if I follow the legal constraints aspect. The neighborhood associations, typically they are a voice. They help the county commissioners, the planning and zoning commission, be able to kind of get a feel for the neighborhood, because lots of times it's just underrepresented. So we definitely rely on them to be able to share the local concerns. But there's really no kind of legal requirements to consider or aspect that I'm aware of. Mark, do you have any other?
No, not much. I mean, we have around approximately 20 or so registered neighborhood associations. Some are much more active than others. And when we went through the process of reaching out for them with the zoning ordinance project, we did notice some of them are not very active at all, and we had to do some updates. So we got rid of a few, but yeah, there's as far as the legal perspective, again, as Richard said, they're more of making sure that they understand and get copies of the applications and answer any questions they might have.
Okay, let's see. This question goes to one of the tools you presented, which I've dropped links in for all the tools and the zoning code rewrite in the chat if you want to use those links for yourself or your clients. How can we tell if a permit has been approved or just requested?
Yeah, that's a good question. There, in that one application tracker system, there should be a status that's listed. There may even be a decision that's listed, and if it goes to a staff member or the director for approval, it should list the decision date. There should be some decision info on there. I'm trying to think if I can.
Yeah, there is a decision line item for decisions, whether it's a director, P&Z, or the board.
Yeah, this one unfortunately is older, but there should be hopefully some information there. There's the status here, but I want to say on the more recent ones, there should be a decision. And also in these supporting documents, many times there'll be a final approval letter as well. So I don't know how well we answered that, but I believe there is some detail there.
Okay. Let's see. Also in the same vein, can we track the number of finished residential lots available to build on versus number of proposed lots in various stages of completion?
Yeah, I'm not aware of the county tracking those. It seemed like there was a group that was trying to keep track of lots. But yeah, we don't, as far as I'm aware, we don't have any of that distinctive data that we keep track of. I think it's just total lots, but no real kind of distinction as to where they're at.
Okay. This is a broader question, but would you share how the county and cities are collaborating to encourage redevelopment and make an easier path for owners in small infill projects in Boise and Meridian of 5 acres or less?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, generally, I guess as planners, we like to see that redevelopment take place, be able to kind of get to that highest and best use and use the land as best as possible. But for the county, I guess we don't just have not seen, as I stated, as much development activity since the city has stopped supporting not annexation, but sewer extension. But I guess I don't have a good a good fit for what Boise, what Meridian are doing to promote that. Again, as I stated, we have started meeting quarterly to talk as planning staff and directors about these types of issues, but that one hasn't specifically come up. I think that we're focused on growth and the housing is the big thing, but that can certainly play into helping out there, that redevelopment.
You mentioned an apparent weakness in the county planning because it had not incorporated transportation. Can you elaborate on what Ada County is suggesting in the future?
Yeah, so I guess our biggest challenge is as we approach development applications, for years, we've always focused primarily on the zoning side, standards, and left the transportation aspects to ACC or ITD, whichever jurisdiction is applicable. So there's that disconnect. Moving forward, we want to make sure that as the commissioners are making a decision on a large subdivision, that if we have any specific transportation related standards or goals, that those can be wrapped into the land use entitlement process. So they're not either missed or left out, but they're considered at the time of entitlement. So we don't always come back and say, oh, why didn't we require this or work with the transportation agency to install this aspect of the project. So we want to take a more active approach at considering transportation, whether it's vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians, into our decisions more. Also, as we try to be partners with the community at large, we want to make sure that we can come and be able to represent the 61,000 residents in unincorporated county as well and their needs, so they're not underrepresented, and we can also be able to have our priorities as we suggest projects to the highway district and the transportation department. So just kind of integrating and bringing together land use and transportation for us as an agency.
What ideas are being pitched to combat the low-income housing crisis from the county's perspective?
Yeah, I think that one's hard as far as ideas or whatnot. There's not much. It's difficult for us, as Mark said. A lot of the area that we focus on is rural, and so as part of the zoning ordinance update, we hope that conversation can take place and ideas can come forth. I'm constantly asking other planners, besides subsidized housing, what other ideas and products are out there? But there's just not a lot. I'd be interested if anybody has ideas, seeing other examples that have worked well. But it's definitely an area that we're struggling with.
Okay, this should be our last question. What specific projects would the impact fees be funding? I know you mentioned coroner, police, paramedics. Are those impact fees just to make up for the incoming growth, or is there anything else that they would go towards?
Yeah, they'll be focused to physical facilities. So if and there's going to be, and there probably already are, specific lists and plans of what that money would go towards that we'll adopt as part of our comprehensive plan. So there'll be a specific list that the county could direct that funding towards like a new EMS actual facility. It's really capital costs to keep the level of service up. So it's not necessarily personnel or anything like that. But yeah, I'm trying to think of an example. I've been detached from that project, but yeah, the EMS I think is the biggest one of new physical facility for EMS to respond to demand.
Okay, great.
An example.
Cool. It's now 9:59, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank Richard Beck and Mark Perfect for joining us again. And if any of our viewers have any additional questions, just go ahead and email me and I can get those over to our guests. But looking into the future, our third quarter 59-minute meeting will be probably in September, so look for an announcement for that. We should have a recording available. If you'd want a copy of that, just let me know and we can go from there. But I want to thank everybody again for attending and have a good rest of your week.
Thanks. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.